Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video.
Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. Stand out with a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything: your products, content you create, and even your time. Utilize Squarespace email campaigns to drive sales and engage your audience. Introduce your brand to new subscribers with welcome emails, announce upcoming sales, or send out a discount code. There are built-in analytics to measure the impact of each send. They have such flexible website templates. It's so easy to get started by choosing a template and then customizing it to look and do whatever it is you need or want. And a huge help is their analytics system. This is where you can gather and use all kinds of insights to aid in helping to grow your business. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you are ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/oliviareadsalatte to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you once again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video.
Hello you guys, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be addressing the hair. No, we're going to be going through all the books that I read in April. So I have a total of 12 books here to talk to you about. I do not know why I said about like that, but I did, and now it's there, and I don't know what to do with it. 3 of them are DNFs. We're gonna go through them in no particular order, aside from the fact that I wanted to take the picture for this thumbnail first and foremost, because thumbnails are the absolute devil, and I hate taking them. So I figured if I took it first, I would be more willing to film the video. Turned out I was what? Correct. I know, she does it again. So we're going in the order of how they are on the thumbnail, because that's how they're stacked, because I literally picked them up from the bed and I said, boom, floor. So, yes. First up, Never Lie by Frida McFadden. So, Frida McFadden is a popcorn thriller, and that is really all you're gonna get. And this one's under 300 pages, so I went in with very low expectations. And to be honest, I had a really fun time. I flew through this. I read it in under 24 hours, but I wouldn't say it was good, but it was fun. And I do think those are 2 different things, for me at least. So in this one, we have newlyweds who are going out to a house to find out if maybe they want to purchase it, because they are looking for a home to start a family at some point. They're gonna go meet their realtor out there, but the snow is getting really, really bad, and they eventually get stuck and have to trek up to the house. And then once they're inside, they realize this is the house of a very famous psychotherapist, I believe, who she went missing after she had, I think, her 2nd book published, and no one ever found her. No one found who did it. No one found her. There were obviously like the theories, but no one ever found it. So, cue are people coming in, causing a stir, causing a mess, and overall mayhem. That is this book. I think the main selling point, which is also in the synopsis, is that our female main character does find audio tapes and she listens to them. So you're getting the previous plotline of the therapist, you're getting her in the now investigating all the things of the world, and then you're getting the actual like transcript from the videos. And Ginger is now rubbing her face on the tripod. So if it is moving or you hear strange sounds, no, it is not the ghost in the house at this moment. He usually comes around like 8 or 9, because why not be scary about it? Or at like 5 a.m. That's annoying too. I'm also an early riser, so I get it. In my old age. But yeah, this was fine. It was really fast. A library recommend for sure. Not my favorite. None of her books have really been my favorite. I've read this, The Coworker, and then obviously The Housemaid. I don't really have any want to read the other Housemaid books, because like, what are you gonna do? Like, just the same thing, different font, different state, different guy. Like, no thank you. But I do want to read The Inmate. I just think the covers are pretty colors, so good. Next up, we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This one I read for a vlog that will hopefully be going up this month if I can get my life together. So who knows? This one is a YA fantasy, and it is about a world where there is magic, but you aren't allowed to have magic. So the male main character is essentially the right hand of the king, or is it the left hand? I don't know. He's the hand of the king, one of the hands, the one with the sword. He's that one. And he is responsible for basically taking out any of the people that have magic and have been hiding it because it's viewed as like a plague on, I don't know. I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. This is a fun time, but it was the most, the most generic YA fantasy ever, which I happen to love. But am I right now confusing the plot of this, Throne of Glass, Red Queen, and the selection for some reason? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I don't know what's real and what's fantasy. I mean, it's all fantasy. That's the genre. But it is, if you like all those things and you just want to like get that feeling again, I would highly recommend. It's got some good banter. The problem is for me with this banter, you can tell she was like writing this to write those scenes, if that makes sense. And it was very much that thing of like, I'm picturing her writing with a quill. Ooh, got him. Like that's just the vision. So it's very much that, but it's a fun little time. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I gave it within the 3 to 3.75 range. I don't know. Definitely gonna be reading the next in the series. It ends very interestingly. Hi, Ginger. But yeah, I couldn't tell you the plot now. There is a challenge. That's what it is. Oh my gosh. Guys, I've been having a neurological month, okay? Don't. I already kind of forget the plots of some of the books I read, but like it's been worse. The shipping's been expedited, but it's out of my hands. I couldn't help it. But we're pulling it back in now. So there is a trial games thing that she enters, or dang it, it's the people who don't have magic that are the problem. I'm reading another book where it's the people that do have magic are the problem. Guys, we need to help fantasy develop new tropes. Anyways, so they are in this trials thing, and basically you're just testing to see if you can use your magic to compete against people. That's gonna be hard without it there. And she is in the trials with the king's right or left hand man, who's also his brother. And it's just chaotic. And it's a little cringy. There's a scene where they dance in the forest and I don't really understand it. But it was fun. Hear me out. It was fun. And that's what I'm here for. So I would recommend if you want a fun YA fantasy time. I clearly do not recommend this for a super memorable time because I have forgotten dang near all of it. And am I gonna pick up the second one from my library and not reread this and not even attempt to remind myself of what happened? Absolutely. And that's gonna be half the battle. But I actually enjoy doing that. So we're gonna do it. Next up, we have the new Holly Jackson book, The Reappearance of Rachel Price. Now this was a hit for me. In true Holly Jackson nature, it gets very unhinged at the end and disbelief is within our realm. I love it. I love it. So in this, we're following the daughter of a woman who went missing. It was her and her mom found in a car, but obviously the mom was gone. She was in the back seat as a baby. She doesn't remember anything of that. And so it is a very big mystery. And in the midst of them filming a docu-series about this, her mom reappears and her name's Rachel Price. And so you find out all these things that happened to Miss Rachel and what occurred on those days, or did it occur? We don't know because we have some investigating to do. So she decides to investigate this with the help of a sidekick sleuth, and I love it. I love that dynamic. I love that kind of thing. It reminded me of Pip and Ravi. It just made me happy. And I love Holly Jackson's writing so much. It's just a fun time. It's chaotic, it's unbelievable, but it's gonna be fun. And her writing actually does lend itself to being kind of creepy for a YA thriller. I don't usually get creeped out by YA thrillers as much because sometimes it feels very like, you know, Scooby-Doo, like, wow, and I would have gotten away with it. But that was kind of how this went down, except way more chaotic and worrisome. I highly, highly recommend it. Next up, we have one of my favorite thrillers I've read this year, Listen for the Lie. I listened to this on audio. That's how I'm going to go ahead and recommend you listen to it, because I did obviously get this physical arc, but I decided to opt for the Libro FM like early copy thingy thing that they have, and I grabbed the audiobook of it, and oh my gosh, it was so good. It was so freaking good. So there's this woman that we're following who, her best friend was killed, and they pinned it on her in the town, so she was found. It wasn't her. We know this. And she moved away, and then something draws her to come back to town, and while she is there is a podcaster who has decided to dig this all back up and start filming and interviewing people and putting out a podcast all about it. And it really does dig up kind of everything within this town, especially surrounding the people who were within this case. And it's just everyone's up for grabs. Everyone's up for grabs. The reason why I recommend the audiobook though is because the podcast element is done so well that even the podcast element feels one way, but then it feels like we're almost listening to an audio diary within the chapters from our main character. None of this feels like a normal book or a normal audiobook, and I need this author to, she has found her place in thrillers. I need her to stay there and just, I need one a year, at least one a year, because they are so, this was so good. This is the perfect, this is what I mean when I want a podcast element within my books. This was done so well. I don't know if it would be done just as well. I really don't. I don't know, because I mean, it does have like the layout of a transcript and whatnot, but I just think there's something about listening and having so many different voices with it and a whole production, and then truly having the actual prose also feel like a podcast almost. Like, it feels like a podcast that's about a podcast. It doesn't feel like an audiobook. It was so good and entertaining. I haven't had this in such a long time, but it was so good that I was listening to it not just in the car and not just when I was like, you know, doing things. I listened to this when I was making my coffee. I listened to it while I was doing editing, taking a shower, walking into work, walking the halls. Like, I was listening to this at any point I could get a headphone in my ear. I was listening. I haven't done that in forever, but I could not put this down because I needed to know what was happening. It was also just the narration was addictive in itself. Like, it was just so good. This probably from this month, we had a lot of good books this month, but this might be my top recommendation because it was just, I need people to read this. And if you tried to read the physical and maybe didn't like it, I'm telling you, if you can, the audio is worth a check out. Next up was one of those great books from this month, and that was A Tempest of Tea. This is Hafsa Fazel's newest book, and it is set in a world where we have vampires. Basically, how I would picture this world for you is the aesthetic and setting of Peaky Blinders. There's vampires, there's half vampires, there's humans, and then we have this ragtag team who gets a mission to save the tea shop that our main character has established as kind of her home base, and her business, and it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. It is a heist novel that is done perfectly. This is very much reminiscent to me of like The Gilded Wolves, in that we get to know our characters through meaningful moments like that actually matter to the heist, not just for the sake of having a meaningful moment. Like, when I read Six of Crows, I liked it just fine. I even loved Crooked Kingdom, but I do not hold that up to be like the epitome of what I want in a heist novel, because truly, what was the job even in there? I don't know. This one, the book was about the job. Like, the book was about the scheme in the heist, and through the scenes that we were like getting clues or getting setup done or getting world building done. World building was quite the minimum in here, I will say. The physical world building, which is something that I've noticed within really recent publishing, so maybe I just don't get physical world building. I don't know. I couldn't have told you what any of these buildings look like. That is very reminiscent of a lot of books I've read though, so it's not a huge gripe. It's a 4.5 for me, but it's enough that I'm like, okay, but like, what am I doing? I feel like I'm relying very heavily on just an aesthetic mood board on Pinterest kind of thing, and I want you to describe to me what everything looked like. But that's just me. That's just me. But this was so good. It flew by. It felt like such a short book, yet so much got accomplished in it. And it also felt like, I don't know, everything happened in such a short span of time, but also everything felt very believable and very, it didn't feel rushed, but it felt fast paced. Like the pacing was actually very solid in this one. So this is another recommendation for sure. And yes, I will be keeping her around. Oh, I guess, actually, you know what? In my reset, I'm gonna add in where I like which books I choose to unhaul and whatnot from this stack, and we'll talk about that in there. So you would have already seen that if you're watching this, probably, because I feel like most people watch the resets, not so much the wrap-ups until later. So if you want to know which ones didn't make the cut, you can probably gauge, but they'll be in there, not in here, because we're just chatting books. We're just chatting books. Oh, and we're at 18 minutes. Okay, not a problem. Next up, for another video, I read Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. This one, we have a woman who is living life, and then she gets, what is it called? One more time. Temporary condition known as face blindness. And at first I was like, what do you mean? But that's an actual thing that happens, and I looked it up, and then also the author addresses it in the back, so I was like, oh, okay, let's go. She has an accident where something happens and then she has to have surgery, ends up with face blindness, which was really bad because she's a portrait artist and she's entering into a competition to win prestige and awards and money, and she really needs the money right now because she's kind of down on her luck, and now she has face blindness and she can't really do what she needs to do. So we're going through that. We're also watching her kind of navigate maybe falling for two different people right now. And then her family life, she's got the definition of an evil stepsister. Hello. And it was just really cute. The only thing that bothered me was the dog. I did not think it was cute that she fed the dog only human food. I don't know why. When I saw people say that on the Goodreads review, I thought, oh, y'all are like no fun. Like, you just want to hate something. But actually the way it was written was very annoying. Like, I actually agree with the Goodreads haters for once. It was not, I did not love that. But that's such a small thing to not like. So this book was very fun. It actually wrapped up exactly how I would have wanted it to, and everything that I thought would happen did happen, but in the most satisfying way. Not in like the, oh, this is so predictable, but in a very comforting, cozy, like, oh, this is so predictable and I feel comfort. And it's very nice, and I'm just having a good little time with it. This would be such a fun movie. I could definitely see Catherine Center books becoming a movie. The Bodyguard and this have both been great for me. I liked The Bodyguard more, but this one is a really high up there 4-star, and I would also recommend for like a fun, fast time. This one reminds me of the plot of like a rom-com, a true early 2000s rom-com, not the cartoon cover books that are not rom-coms inside. They're like mob bosses. No, like this is actually feels like a rom-com, and it's just a good time. Next up, we do not have a rom-com. We have a spy novel. This is the 5th book in the Orphan X series. Obviously, I'm not going to say too much about the 5th book, although I really enjoyed it and I thought it was very fun, and it read just like a movie. Greg is getting into his stride with these books. I have already started the 6th one at this point, and loving that as well. Like, they're just so well written. They're so fun. If you like The Equalizer, the kind of vigilante, getting justice for people movies, I think you'd really like this book series. This one, he is a kid who got put into the orphan program, which is where they train people to become basically these elusive undercover, like black ops, dark, deep spies, and anything that they need done that they can't really do themselves on the books, they have this program of secret spies that do that, and he gets out, which you're really not supposed to do. And so it's kind of all of these different books go through how he has now kind of created this the nowhere man persona for himself, in which he has a phone, and when someone needs help, they call it. He says, "Do you need my help?" And they say, "Yes." And then he says, girl, what's up? So they tell him what's up, he takes care of it, and then the payment for this phone call and for his services and his help is to keep his number, and then when you find someone that could have been like in your place that needs help like you needed help, you give them that help by giving the number and then passing it on. And it's just, I think it's a really cool concept. I know it's been optioned, like someone bought the rights to the movies. I need them to get on it because this would be such a fun movie series. Like, he has it here, right here for you. Hello? I just know if Tom Cruise had heard about this, he would have already been on it. I just believe that if he's still beating down the Mission Impossible doors, I just don't believe if he knew about it, he wouldn't be on top of it. I just believe that in my heart and soul. So yeah, that's this series. It's part of my like dad fiction, and I love dad fiction. That's just what it is. Still waiting on Dan Brown's new book. When are we gonna stop the Instagram teasers and give me the book, Dan? Okay, next up, another book that I absolutely loved, Full 5 Raging Stars, What the River Knows by Isabella Bañez. I gave this one 5 stars. I recorded a reading vlog for it for Patreon, and I did not realize I am currently editing it, and it is 56 minutes long, which is chaotic and a lot, and I did not know it was going to be that long. That is the longest Patreon reading vlog I've ever filmed because I just was screaming about this book. Like, the whole few days I was reading it, I was just freaking out. This is pitched as it's The Mummy meets what? Death on the Nile. So, I don't know about Death on the Nile. Haven't read it, haven't seen it. But is that the one where Gal Gadot pops champagne and she's like, there's enough for everybody? I don't remember. I think that is the one that got memeified though. I really do believe it is. Anyways, so back to the good thing. This is definitely giving the Mummy vibes. Our main character lives in Argentina and her parents go to Egypt all the time to do excavations and digs and just kind of like sleuthing around Egypt. And what time zone is, yeah, it's 19th century. They're, you know, archaeologically doing things over there. And then they go missing, presumed dead, and she's like, hey, not really cool with this, just slapping, assuming they're dead on there. Like, I want to actually find out what happened to them. So she gets on a boat and gets herself over there, and she's ready to go. And she meets her uncles, who her uncle is now in charge of her for right now. She meets his assistant, who is basically Rick from The Mummy as a human. He's British, but I ignored that. He was Rick, okay? I'm telling you, Rick. And he's like, girl, get back on the boat. I have orders, you gotta go home. And she evades him, and it's hilarious, and it's just off to a brilliant, fantastic start. I loved it so much. Honestly, kind of the dynamic and the way that they were bantering reminded me a lot of Divine Rivals, actually, where immediately I was like, oh no, this is adorable. Oh no, they are so cute. Oh my god. And then what? Like, it was so good. So she then starts to try to super sleuth and find out what happened to her parents, and instead she accidentally uncovers a bunch of other things, and we go from there. And the cliffhanger at the end of this was absolutely unnecessary, and there is no reason Isabel needed to do that to me. None. Next up, we have the mostly true story of Tanner and Louise. So Tanner is a soccer player who broke her leg and she cannot play soccer anymore because she can't run at the speed she needs to. Louise is an elderly woman who is living her little life at her home, but her helicopter daughter decides that she cannot live alone, so she gets Tanner to move in with Louise to just take her to her doctor's meetings, to help her get around, to do all these things. Granted, Louise did just get hip surgery, so like, I guess that kind of makes sense. But Tanner doesn't have a degree next to nursing or anything medical, let alone actually within the medical field. So a choice was made, and they do touch on that, and I thought it was very funny the way they talk about it. But this is Thelma and Louise. This is Driving Miss Daisy. This is so good. Like, they basically live together, and then they have to go on the run from the cops because Louise has got some skeletons in her closet. I'm talking all the closets are lined with skeletons, and poor little Tanner's like, what the is going on? But okay, I'll drive you. And it is just fun. It is so fun. I love the dynamic of like a mid-20s, 30s young woman with like older women hanging out, being friends. I love that dynamic. We see that in the Misfortune series by Jana De Leon. It's so fun. I love it so much. And this is that as well. It was just very heartwarming, very cozy. Definitely recommend it. Then we have 2 books that I DNF'd, and I'm trying to beat the time on my camera, so let's go fast. Grave Reservations. This is about a psychic travel agent. Not very good, got very bored. Let me know if it gets better, maybe I'll try again. Daughter of Mine. Megan wanted me to think too much. I wasn't interested in doing that, so I put it down. I'll probably go back. I do like Megan. Mary Kubeka. I finished this one. This one was so good. However, I do think that she took a cheap out with how she manipulated some of everything that was going on. Some of everything is what I meant to say. I did mean to say that, and it was true. But I still enjoyed it very much. This is so chaotic and so dramatic. We have an ICU nurse who is taking care of a patient who fell from a bridge, but then it turns out maybe she didn't fall, maybe it was attempted murder. Oh my god, what's happening? Then throughout the city, there is a serial robber, breaking and entering person going around slicing and dicing and doing whatever. And so we're solving all the mysteries, all the crimes, and everything's crazy and connected. And it was very good. It was very good. It felt like a domestic thriller, but in Chicago. It was very good. Really enjoyed it. I don't have time to check my Goodreads to see if that was truly all that I read this month, but I really do think I stuck to pretty much only physical books, which I'm very proud of. That's one of the goals I have. So anyways, let me know what you thought. Let me know if you've read any of these, what your favorite, let me know your favorite book or your least favorite book from the month. I'm interested to know. And you can leave a dog emoji as always, because Jake was very kind waiting for me to finish filming this. As always, the best boy. Make sure that you drink your water, stay hydrated, be kind, and then go have a good day on purpose, because you deserve it. And just like that, ladies and gents, we made it to the 30-minute mark on my camera. She didn't cut me off. Thank you. Bye.
Hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side, our fears are done. All the good times just begun.